The Consumer Price Index, or CPI as it's commonly called, is like a barometer for our economy. It tells us how much the prices of everyday things are going up or down. Think about the things you buy regularly: groceries, petrol, clothes. CPI tracks the price changes of these items and more. How does it work? Government agencies collect data on the prices of thousands of goods and services across the country. They then analyze this data to calculate the CPI. The CPI is released every month, giving us a snapshot of inflation. Understanding CPI is crucial for everyone. It helps us understand the rising cost of living and make informed decisions about spending and saving. Governments and businesses also rely on CPI data to make important policy decisions. The latest CPI report just came out, and it has some interesting news. In January 2025, the headline CPI rose by 0.5% compared to the previous month. Now, this might seem like a small number, but it translates to a 3% increase over the past year. But here's something else to consider: core CPI. This measure excludes volatile items like food and energy prices. Core CPI also increased by 0.4% month-on-month, reaching 3.3% year-on-year. This tells us that inflation is not just being driven by temporary fluctuations in energy prices. The Federal Reserve, our central bank, keeps a close eye on CPI data. They aim to keep inflation around 2%. The latest figures show that inflation is still above their target. This could influence their decisions on interest rates in the coming months. So, how does this CPI data actually affect you? Well, a rise in CPI means you are effectively paying more for the same goods and services. For example, if the price of milk has gone up by 10% in the past year, your monthly grocery bill will be higher. This is where understanding CPI becomes crucial. It allows you to see how much your purchasing power is being eroded by inflation. If your salary hasn't kept pace with inflation, you might find it harder to afford the same lifestyle. Furthermore, rising CPI can impact interest rates on loans and mortgages. If the Federal Reserve decides to raise interest rates to combat inflation, borrowing money becomes more expensive. This can have a ripple effect on the economy. The release of CPI data always sends ripples through financial markets. Investors pay close attention to these figures as they provide insights into the health of the economy. In response to the latest CPI report, we saw some interesting market movements. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, a key stock market index, initially dipped but then recovered slightly. Treasury yields, which reflect borrowing costs for the government, rose. These reactions suggest that investors are concerned about persistent inflation. Looking ahead, it's essential to keep an eye on future CPI releases and the Federal Reserve's response. If inflation remains stubbornly high, we could see further interest rate hikes, which could have a significant impact on the economy. Understanding CPI is not just for economists. It's a vital tool for everyone to navigate these uncertain economic times.